Race 7 of BMW IBSF, two-man bobsleigh World Cup. We're high in the Austrian Tyrol outside the double Olympic city of Innsbruck. Just outside the village of Igls on the mountainside is where they held the sliding events for 2 Winter Olympic Games. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Innsbruck as we get ready for the action on day 2 of our weekend here. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me, John Morgan. John, a track that was built back in the 1970s still provides a specific challenge for our athletes.
Well, Super Speedway at St. Moritz 2 weeks ago. Then we had a tight track in Martinsville. Here, this might be the easiest track of them all to get down, but very meticulous corners, especially here, curve 1 into curve 2, really slow, and you have to drift around here with no steering and let the sled accelerate. Any mistakes up here just give you no chance at the bottom. So it's almost like it lulls you to sleep. It's so slow up here. And then, but it's meticulous. Again, no mistakes. 6, 7, down to the big Kreisel curve. Big sweeping left, and you want to accelerate out of these curves. Slingshot effect. This is a big challenge here. Curve 8, 9. This is the pivotal part of the track. The exit of curve 9. And then you go to big 10, big curve, and now to these 3-corner combination they call the labyrinth. 3 really tight, quick turns, and there's going to be accidents. Down here is where we're going to see it. Finish curve uphill, through and down, and then it's the challenge to stop the sled. Friedrich and Margus, they got the track record here from last year's World Championships. It's a very easy track to get down, Martin, but it makes a lot of combinations to get to who's going to be the winner.
The devil's in the detail, isn't it, here? More than perhaps anywhere else. 2.5 degrees of air temperature. Feels a little cooler this morning. It was frosty overnight. -5 ice, and that's going to be really important that they keep that ice temperature solid. Christoph Langen, that may be the biggest smile I think I've ever seen on Christoph Langen's face. He is here with the Swiss development program. And with a big field, 32 sleds from 18 nations, we need the refrigeration on hard to keep the ice. There's Rico Peter, who's got good success rate on this story. Oskars keeper on this track. Oskars Kibermanis, who's currently the leading Latvian in our World Cup rankings. Oskars Melbardis, of course, missed the first part of the season. Then Nico Walter, Francesco Friedrich, double 2-man world champion. Last winner on this track. Well, we start our field with young Italian Simone Fontana, who is combining driving and braking at the moment. Justin Olsen, Dominic Dvorak, some of the new young drivers in the top 5. And then our top 10, including our World Cup points leader and world champion Francesco Friedrich, Stephen Holcomb, Stulnev, Kazyanov, the Russians, and all on the way down to the 32 sleds. Now, bear in mind, when you look at this start draw, that only 20 will go through. So more than a third of the sleds that start the first heat will not go through into the second heat of the race. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF 2-man World Cup for bobsleigh. Simone Fontana and former skeleton slider Giovanni Mulisano for Italy. The 25-year-old Fontana is likely to also be braking. He's started driving after Sochi in 2014 and has raced here precisely once as a driver.
Simone Bertazzo is not in the competition today or tomorrow, and back training, getting ready. But it's good to see the Italians have 2 sleds here. And he did not drive on the World Cup last season. The only one Italian in the World Cup standings last season was Simone Bertazzo. And he's the rabbit, and he needs to be clean. Little flop, a little late there. Kreisel. Right here is the pivotal part, the exit into 8-9. 8's decent. If you make a mistake at 8, we'll show it. And there's 9 late. Ooh, up near the roof at 10, and now he's late down here. He's not controlling it perfectly. Ooh, foggy down there at the bottom part of the track.
Little mist from the ice, and across the line he comes in a 52.57. Track record is a 51.30.
Second 25 out.
And unsurprising given the little errors and also his lack of experience here. He's only raced here once as a driver. Giovanni Mulisano's raced here several times in skeleton.
Well, exit of 9. Watch the sled come up a little bit, and this causes him to drift off the curve to the right part of our screen, hit the wall. Well, when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds on a track, we're going to probably see some ties. That's a mistake. Down here, he's still late down here in the exit of 10 in the labyrinth. Skid going into the first labyrinth, and he was late for 3/4 all the way to the finish.
Brakeman Mulisana, with his back to us, by the way, has also driven bobsleds here, so he's had a go at starting driving. 29-year-old Justin Olsen has been on the podium here as a brakeman for Stephen Holcomb, who we'll see later on. This is his first race here as a driver in actual competition, but he was the forerunner throughout the World Championships last year, so he's got knowledge of the track. What he also has, John Morgan, with Evan Weinstock, is a big start.
Yeah.
But can he keep the speed all
Look at
the way to the
Weinstock's
finish line?
uniform is all ripped, the left knee. So Weinstock's a 4-time champion at Brown University from the decathlon, 7,700-point score, and he's not even the best decathlete in the field today. That's Thorsten Margus. He's coming up later with the world champion, Francisco Friedman.
5:08 start, that's a good getaway, but the sled rocked right out of the grooves as they hit it for the first time. We'll see that again in replay.
Justin says he's a lot more comfortable here than he is in Königssee, where he found a lot of ways to make the sled go sideways. Let's see what he does here in the exit. Needs to be clean. A little late there.
62.8 miles an hour, 101 kilometers. Not a bad exit from 9.
See if he climbs high. No, gets down low. Now the rhythm. Watch the heads. That's nice.
Nice and early on to 11, and that sets you up for the whole lower labyrinth.
Speed 123. It's pretty good. Wow. There's a second. That's a nice time. 51.63.
That's the 3/6 off the all-time track record. So actually, he's in contention. There should be no question he's going to make a second heat.
Yeah, well, on this track,
going off early in 32 sleds, that's a big bonus, and that was a neat drive from Olsen.
Well, a developing driver with a great start time, and if he learns how to drive, he will be lethal. Here's the entrance in 8 on the wrong side, which means he has to steer harder into 8. This is down in the labyrinth. There's a little airborne there. Watch the back end here. Crosses over into the take-on. That looks pretty good there. Does he get off here perfectly? Yeah.
Well, we didn't see the start, but they hit it hard. The sled came right up in Evan Weinstock's hands. So they'll need to tidy that up a little. Dominik Dvorak from the Czech Republic, just 24 years old. Not only a bobsled driver, former brakeman, he's a 10.9 100-meter sprinter as well. He's not
he gets good starts. They get good starts.
10.9?
They could easily match 5:08 or better.
Bronze medalist in last year's Junior World Championships in the 2-man. He was bronze in the 4-man last year, but he's not raced here in World Cup. 5:10, that's a good getaway. A couple of hundredths of a second shy of Justin Olsen, the current leader from the start.
And he's down to 100th, so that means he's got better lines. Knows the track more. I mean, this is Olsen's. Oh, that's a mistake there. That +1 could go to +2 now because of that little drift before he got into the Kreisel. Nope. So he's not bleeding anytime. And
oh, a little skinny from 9 to 10. Good bump off 10.
Yeah, he lost that little skid, was costly.
It's the tiniest of errors here that make the difference, and the gaps are going to be so small. 700. Again, it's going to be tough to make this field. It is going to be really tough to make these.
Yeah, I got to believe, but the start times these two just put down, both these sleds, they'll be no worse than 15. These sleds will be right in the mix.
Yeah, that early.
They could be 10 to 15.
Early ice with a nice fresh shine on it from the spritz.
Yeah,
that helps.
He looks like he's a little hurt there, but watch the skid here. Can't do that. Little late coming off there, 4-5 combination. Then the labyrinth here into the Kreisel. Beautiful, beautiful pictures.
Shot.
Yeah,
fabulous.
And this isn't what you want to do. This friction.
Yeah.
And then he's got to go into 10 and steer hard in 10. He was 100th down to 700ths down, probably all related to that.
First World Cup of the season for 33-year-old Serb Vuk Radjanovic. Stefan Vujanic behind him. 28th in the World Championship last year in a 2-man. Last World Cup here was January 2015. He finished in 26th position.
Well, it's about start times for Vuk. I mean, he's a big monster. Ooh, but they don't get the starts. 5:40. So he's 3,200 hundredths down to Olsen. That means he's going to be 1 second at the bottom. So
really
most likely
sign him outside the top 20.
Yeah, no chance. 52.63 is I'm projecting right now. He'll probably be about a 52.69 or so. Mark that down. We'll see how close we are with that projection.
Nice looking lines as he comes out of 6 down into the Kreisel. 270-degree big skid on the exit though. Brought it down a little early and paid the price.
Ooh. Quick adjustment there. Boy, I've seen a lot of the brakemen sitting in the back seat there. See a lot of his shoulders.
Boy, he's wedging himself in that sled.
So I said 52.69. What do you think?
Out of the final corner.
52.70.
Yeah.
Off by 100.
Rubbish at prediction.
Terrible.
And that is one of the factors of this track, isn't it? Is that if you don't have a start, there's no ice to make it up.
He drove the same line as Olsen. You know, he would have been equal to Olsen with an equal start. You know, there's that multiplier of 3, 3,200s down. So you can just go 9,600s at the bottom, and he was pretty equal.
Yeah.
You know, the drift here, look at that. Now he's really got some issues going into the curve 8. How much steering goes on in there?
Well, it helps kind of steer him in. He's backing it in a little bit unintentionally, but nevertheless, that skid all costs time. Oskars Melbardis, 6th position in the last 2 weeks in two-man. He was 5th in the World Championships here in two-man as well, so this track should suit him.
Well, they had late scratch. His brakeman, Stregner, got added to the sled only an hour before the competition. So, but he just manages to get a 5:06 because the Latvians have a lot of horses in their corral, including the driver is probably one of the best pushing drivers in the field, even though he went through back surgery this summer.
Silver medalist the last time we had a World Cup race here in January 2015. And he's the 4-man world champion on this track as well. So this is a track that plays well to his strengths. Still in front of Justin Olsen.
But 6-5, back to 6. Here he goes. He does here. That's as good as anybody. It's come down that chute today.
But even with all of his experience and starting a fraction quicker, look, he's still only 600 up. So that underlines what a really good drive Justin Olsen had.
And how about the Czech guy, too?
Wow,
Dvorak,
only
look at
500 in front.
Dvorak, too.
Yeah.
That's the closest Dvorak or Olsen have ever been to Melbardis.
Dvorak started 3 two-man races this season, 18th in Altenburg and Samoritz, 21st in Winterberg, didn't make the cut, but he'll make the cut here, or Melbardis won't as well, and that will be a shock.
Watch this big man, 245 pounds. Let's see the way he launches himself. The Germans last week, both of them almost didn't get in the sled in Königssee. And look at the size. Now watch the brakeman come in. And watch the brakeman sequence of his arms coming up together. Those big meat hooks on that 235-pound guy.
Doesn't quite get around the driver cleanly, but Markus Sammer and Benny Meyer, his driver for Austria. Markus Sammer also driving. And he has now given that up until at least after Pyeongchang. Benny Meyer, 9th in the World Championships, bronze in the team medal. Last two-man World Cup here the year before, he was only 29th. That's how fast he progressed last season.
Start, 5:06,
That's a great start. Wow.
With the speed, 3rd best velocity. So we'll see. I mean, he knows where what were they saying about the Austrian?
A wormhole down at the bottom where they find
the
speed.
Austrian shortcut.
Yeah. 200s up, as perfected by many Austrian drivers over the year.
Big lead. His lead came up on the top of the track.
500s up now.
He found some kind of line up there where the speeds are slow.
62.9. Oh!
A little late off 9.
Nice height. And gets a great exit out of 10.
He lost all that time in that exit. Oh, he's late there. Very airborne. Speed, not that good. 3rd.
Cross the line in 3rd.
100th behind Olsen.
His dad on the left.
Franz Joseph Hoffman on the right.
Yeah.
They know, mistaken 9, but well, I'm surprised he was that late off the first of the 3 labyrinths. Second of the 3 labyrinths.
Friends, family and supporters there named on the sled. every athlete's first and best sponsors are their parents.
So this wasn't good for time. He lost 500s there because he was in the red 5 or in the green. And then here, watch how late it is. That's airborne. I mean, that's, boy, he crossed over. That might be the Austrian shortcut.
There you go. Fly it off 10. Race led by Oskars Melbardis. As we now get to a second of our Latvians, this is 30-year-old Igls Zalims, 15th in the World Championships here last year in two-man, 11th in the World Cup before that, but only 2 other previous races here in European Cup action, so not the most experienced of drivers here in Innsbruck. His teammate just did 5.06, he's got a 5.07. You're not going to get a slow start out of a Latvian sled, are you?
They got too many guys in the corral, too many decathletes. He only competed in two-man last week because most of his team was up in the Junior World Championships up in Winterberg. Dropping speed's not that great. See what he can do down here. If he can manufacture some speed and find the Austrian shortcut, but that's not going to do it. Still decent. I mean, this is setting it up. It's going to be a ridiculously close race.
1500s back. He'll be in 5th position at the line. So behind Dominik Dvorak by 600ths of a second. And the fastest 5 sleds so far covered by 1800ths.
Well, we can only say that the guys...
more in there, won't we?
Dvorak and Olsen, I'm sitting there looking, going, wow. You know, and then we're going to have a guy coming down next who's going to be the telltale sign of how it's going to happen. Here it's, you know, watch the runner tips, watch a skid, friction on this track. No, can't do that.
Yeah, no room to hide here. Next up is our World Cup points leader. That's why he's got a yellow sled. No, actually it's not. Double two-man world champion, 26-year-old Francesco Friedrich, has not been off the podium in the two-man races this season. 3 wins, 2 silver medals.
Okay, the #1 point of all of the decathletes in the field is on the back, Thorsten Margus, and they have the best speed, the best velocity into the sled, and this young phenom from Germany who won his third world championships on this track. See what he can do, carve his way down to what type of lead. Maybe look at this, 2100s now. This could get out to 3000s, 3500s down here. Wow, huge speed too. He's doing it all.
Not bad out of 9, little left into 10. See if he can carry that speed.
Wow.
In a field that's already so close, this is ridiculous.
Oh, ridiculous speed. This is going to be 3500s up. 33 track record.
Brand new track record already. Breaks his own mark. 51.32 becomes 51.25. Torsten Margus in the back there. He knows it feels good.
Just another day at the office. How are the lines? Look at him late. See any runners skidding there? Yeah, he tries to play with things, but he does not hit the wall. A little bit of a skid. How high does he get in 10?
Good height.
Yeah, that's a height. That's a lot of height right there. If I'm watching up top, I'm looking and saying, wow, look how high he got in 10. Dove off into the labyrinths.
Alexei Stulnev from Russia, the 29-year-old, was 13th in the two-man worlds here last year, 9th in the four-man, which is much more his thing, 15th and 16th in his last 2 World Cup appearances, or in his 2 previous World Cup appearances here. Stulnev lies 3rd in the World Cup standings.
He has been flying the last second half of the season. From January on, he won his first ever World Cup medal last weekend.
Overhauled his teammate Alexander Kazhinov last weekend by a whole 6 points, 1,000 to 994.
Well, his 7th best start. Watch the velocity, 5th best velocity, so the brakeman gets a heads up there. Power step into the sled, and Stulnev, well, him and Holcomb both posted the 19th best starts last week in the first run, and they both finished Holcomb with a silver medal, and Stulnev right behind in fourth.
Yep.
And so it shows with the bad start, you can still drive your way into a podium.
Not here, though.
Here it's a little different.
Yeah.
But look at this, he's 7/10 down.
Well,
wow,
here,
that's an eternity of time.
Yeah, but don't forget, there's a third of a second, first to second.
Well, this is going to keep him out of the mix of the other three sleds, including Justin Olsen and Dvorak from the Czech Republic.
Never mind that.
It's 80 hundredths back.
With that run, he might struggle to make the top 20.
No, he's going to make top 20. But
don't forget, this is only the 9th sled down. The first 5 are not top 10 ranked drivers.
Plus 80. He is
8/10ths back. That's a big gap in this field.
Well, I think the Russians are going to reevaluate what kind of runners they put on today, because this guy's been not 8/10ths back of Friedrich on any track this season.
Big skid, 10 to 11 and 12 to 13 as well.
Well, that might be the worst heat of the year for Stulnev.
Next up, Steve Holcomb from the USA, the man who lies second in points, just 20 behind Francesco Friedrich, our leader. Silver and bronze in the last 2 weeks in the two-man.
He's got Sam McGuffey back there, that football player, University of Michigan, that went into Rice. They went and played Canadian football, and U.S. team is starting to settle on him, but look at the start. Oh, 7th best, 6th best velocity, and that 19 is going to get out to 35 here before he gets to the Kreisel. And then, Holcomb's going to be, I don't know if there's many magical spots on the bottom part of the track like there was in Koenigsee for him, but he's going to need them all. He's going to have a chance, tough time to chase down his teammate. He's not going to chase down Olsen.
Two-man winner on this track in 2014 with Stephen Langton behind him, the last pre-Olympic race here.
61 to 55, so he's starting to come back on and chase down Friedrich and try and get in the top 5. 62. He's going to be 7,500s back. 64 actually came back in the bottom a little bit. 4th best speed in the bottom, but boy, he is 30 hundredths, 26 hundredths behind his teammate, Olsen. Yep. But Olsen also beat him by 11 hundredths at the start.
Well, listen, whatever you drive in auto racing, there is a track that is not going to suit you. And this is the one for Holcomb.
Ooh, this little tap.
Crashes the wall, tiny fraction. Even then, he's turning his head and yelling brakes to Sam McGuffey. 10 down. 22 to come. Francesco Friedrich is our comfortable leader. Russia's Alexander Kasyanov just 6 points behind his teammate Alexei Stulnev in the World Cup rankings. And they've got almost 1,000 points under their belt this season. Silver medal, a highlight of his two-man season. That was Altenburg, first race after Christmas. And Kasyanov, 18th in the two-man worlds here. His best result here in the World Cup the season before was a 7th.
Well, he's another one that's going to give up a lot of time here in the first 50 meters. And 7th best start. It's the 8th best low. So he lost, double trouble there with a slower velocity after his start. And, maybe the Russians don't have the right runners on for this track.
Well, Russia's only had 2 medals here in two-man in the last 11 seasons. So it's not a happy hunting ground.
Some guy named Zubkov?
Yep. I couldn't tell you when the last Russian win was. My records don't go back far enough.
This is pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Compared to the other Russian sled, this is excellent. This is vying for a top 3. So he does have the right runners on. This is, he's going to have to hustle here at the bottom. It's close between 4 to 7. 3rd, look at that, out of nowhere. He goes ahead of Olsen by 300ths. So there's somebody with a double-digit start time. The first 5 sleds all have single digits, 5s and 6s, and then Friedrich 5 flat, but Kasyanov 5:18. So he was 54 hundredths behind. He should have been by Friedrich. Look at him hopping. Look at this athleticism of these large men in down. Now let's watch the brakeman settle. They advanced this a little bit. Let's see the break. Oh, he got his left foot caught there a little bit.
Rocks the said side to side. Some of that
that's
energy is
smooth.
already going sideways.
And watch the brakeman get it. Now the brakeman's going to be a little delayed getting in.
Yeah.
And watch the meat hooks come up together.
Brakeman's running to his own cadence, whether Kazanov gets in or not. Here goes Rico Peda, 33-year-old Swiss. 10th in the World Championships in the two-man. He was a bronze medalist in the four-man here last year. Best World Cup race, 9th place in two-man the season before.
Well, the Swiss always do well on the track, and there might be a few Swiss cowbells around here because the Swiss always like to come out of St. Moritz, not far away, a couple hours away. And that's a big mistake by the guy that I call a reckless driver. And he loves it. 58.
Tidied up a little here, a couple of noisy taps on the wall. Good exit from 9, down into 10, nice height.
Really high, like Friedrich. 78 though.
Exit of 12, nice neat crossover into 13
Speed's
and down.
Way off the mark.
10th place. Okay, 50. Anything outside of 52-second run, I do think you're going to struggle to make the second heat.
Well, when you have that start, I mean, only Kazanov. Now, Kazanov's doing what Stulnev did last week. I can't believe Stulnev is 80 hundredths out.
Kazanov half a second faster at the bottom from the same start as Rico Peda.
Yeah, well, here's the exit of Kreisel. Okay, now let's watch this side. Watch the back picture they give us. Look at that. He's tapping, and that's huge.
Yeah, big skid.
Big skid. He'll be the first one to tell you that's...
Didn't try and steer out of it. Let it slide onto the corner. Johannes Lochner, two-man wins in the last 2 weeks. Top 3 in training here. Silver in the two-man worlds last year. And his only previous World Cup race here, he was in 5th position the year before.
Well, you're going to get a pretty good start here. Should be 5:04, 5:05.
Austrian sponsor.
12. Now, you know, he said he was a little sick last week, and this is not the normal start. Good velocity, though.
Not his normal brakeman either. Tino Pash on the back.
Excuse me, I take it back.
So that's not his normal brakeman, which doesn't mean he's slower in any way.
No, but Pash can rock it.
Yeah.
Ooh, a little late there. See that skid?
Bumpy.
He got late in the previous curve and came over and hit the bump on the takeout because he was trying to get on the takeout too early.
He's done 39 hundredths back, 48 hundredths out, and
struggle.
the speed's not there either.
Well, the speed's not there because of that mistake up at curve 4 to 5.
Big height, really trying to slingshot it down out of turn 10.
Now he's hanging in there with the speed, but 125, top speed, 4th best speed, 8th place. Start time and the mistake on the curve 4-5. He had the 7th best start, 8th best finish. The mistake up there cost him 2 tenths. 2 tenths better, he'd be down in 5th.
8th place out of 13 sleds, including 5 who are not in the top 10 in the world rankings. So
look at this, watch him now, watch him come off there, he flops, then watch a crossover. He's gonna try and make up for it. We're gonna get on this curve early, hits the take on, squares things up, and bounces into the curve. That's not the way to do it.
No, that just flew from one wall to the next.
The guy has won 5 of the last 7 races. I don't think he's gonna win today.
Yun Jung-won, the 31-year-old Korean, in a nosedive. Won's career in two-man this season. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, 8th, 16th. That is not the progression you want a year out of the games.
Plus, this is a brand new Hyundai sled.
Yeah,
we were told by a number of different people in the Korean program to make sure it's not a combination BTC, Hyundai. It's a brand new Hyundai. And it looks sleek. It's got a butt nose to it. It's a little bit different.
Much wider at the front, but flatter as well.
Little drift there. Start,
5:12.
not the start. Remember the start's a good velocity, though. 7th best start, 3rd best velocity. That's some good energy by the brakeman into the sled.
One needs to find his mojo again because it's all starting to come a little bit unraveled this season.
Flopped off 4, not as bad as Lochner. 4 tenths back. He's still hanging around 9-10. And this at one time, this is the World Cup leader from last year, the winner.
Yeah.
And he won the event in Königssee last year. This year he got 16th. So figure that. Of course, you want to peak at the Olympics, not the year before, but
you don't want to be tailing off the year before either.
Speed's pretty good, though.
7th in the world
Seventh
here
speed,
a year ago.
9th down below. Wow. Had a Holcomb, though. Beat Holcomb by 200s. He beat Holcomb by 700s at the start.
Well, since the beginning of last season, when he was the two-man champion at the end of it, they've lost their coach, they've changed their sleds, they've fired their mechanics. You know, the only thing they haven't
Watch a
changed
little bit of a
is the
drift
driver.
here. Watch this drift to the left. See that?
Yeah.
That
an
ain't the way to do
uncomfortable
it. That's definitely costly. Then here, look how he gets in there late. Big transition of the sled. And look at the back end's got some air because he got in late on the second one to the third. Skid there. Look at that.
Yep.
That skid. Well, he's only driven the sled 6 trips.
Obvious. Oscar's Keepermanis next up, the 23-year-old, having a really solid season. Bronze medal in the two-man in Altenburg and Winterberg, his first 2 World Cup races this year. 5th place in the last 2 weeks.
Well, here comes some rockets. Could get low 5s here.
Best two-man result here was a couple of seasons ago. He was 8th in the World Championships. He was 14th in the two-man last season.
Yeah, didn't have a very good velocity there. He went from the 2nd best start time to the 5th best velocity. And that's probably why he's down 1300ths already. Because the guy at top of the leaderboard, Friedrich and Margus, who skid there, they had the best start, best velocity, and they just blew everybody away in the first 100 meters of the track.
Well, plus, Friedrich didn't make big mistakes down the track.
He's hanging
nice
in here.
exit from 9 to 10. That's a really good-looking exit.
His teammate Mel Bardis didn't have very good speed down here, and he's falling away himself. He's falling back 6, 7. He's going to need 125, 124 speed. No speed registered.
75.7 miles an hour.
7. So the
2.5 miles an hour off the pace at the bottom.
Little Dvorak and Olsen.
Dvorak and Olsen are hanging in there in the top 4 at the 5.
And where's Dvorak ranked?
Dvorak is 27th in the World Cup rankings. He's currently lying in 6th place.
And what about Olsen? And look at these lines here in the Chrysler. The trip looked great.
Olsen ranked 17th, but then Olsen did the North American races and Dvorak was here in Europe Cup. Francesco Friedrich leads Oscar's Malbardis and Alexander Kazyanov by a yawning 1/3 of a second. 15 of 32 sleds down. We now reach the midpoint of the field with Justin Cripps and Jesse Lumsden. Coach Graham Richardson putting the sled on the ice. 8th in the two-man, 16th in the four-man last year in the World Championships here. Best result in Igls, 5th in the World Cup a couple of years ago. Last Canadian medal on this track, January 2006, Pierre Luders.
That's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
And some studs here. They should be 508, 509.
Whoop.
Should be single digits. Look at Jesse's arms come up. 5.7. Great. Watch the velocity. 2nd best velocity. That technique that Jesse Lumsden did, he didn't try and bring his arms in quick. He brought them up straight and slowly in.
Yep.
Good technique, and he was rewarded with the 2nd best velocity.
Don't rock the boat.
Yes. Especially when you're a big man like he is. Little skid there.
2200s back, 5th at the start, still 5th on the split times.
2800s, speed's good. That's
nice. Oh, little late onto and off corner 9.
That'll cost him a 10th.
He's back out to 8th place. He was up to 4th on the split times. This is still a good-looking run from Cripps. And at the line, 9th place, ahead of Johannes Lochner, who's won the last 2 two-man races.
The mistake was costly on the exit of 9. That's probably the pivotal part of the track for success. And he probably had one of the worst lines through there of anybody yet. Watch him come down, watch it come back up. And now we'll see the front shot where he makes that mistake. Well, this is into 8. This is probably why he had that mistake into 9, because he got into late
onto 9.
And then here, then that's, you know, he was late going into 8, and all the way through the exit of 9, he was still compounded problems.
And that two-corner complex took him from 4th to 8th, but the smile's back on his face, and it should be. Germany's Nico Walter with Christopher Weber behind him, the 26-year-old.
World
Only
Cup
raced
debut.
here 4 times.
World Cup debut for the break, but look at his technique.
Gets in
and his
sideways.
that's going to be costly.
Comes down like a bag of sand.
But a 4th, maybe it wasn't, because of 4th velocity.
Yeah, but just think how much better they'd been if he'd landed A, square, and B, softly.
Well, Weber is a 100-meter sprinter that Rennie Spies got out of a track meet, and he's got a lot of high hopes for him. But we did a headshot with him, and I thought he was going to be an alternate. And Rennie said, no, we're putting him right in the back of Nico Walter's sled.
Just off the podium in the 2-man race 2 seasons ago, Nico Walter, but only 11th in the World Championships last year. He's got this FES sled under him. His 2 teammates both in Valna 2-mans.
It's not bad, not great, but
11th place.
no.
And at the line, 12th, behind Yun Jun Won, but ahead of Stephen, tied with Stephen Holton, in fact, for 12th place.
Well,
He'll be wearing his familiar perplexed look, but there were driving
some errors. But watch this, though. Okay, get in, get down with cat-like movements.
Look, he's getting in sideways,
he's getting
Weber,
in,
look.
you know, and this is a...
Hits the sled.
He hits the side of the sled first from left, then he rocks to the right, and you can see that took the sled right out of the driver groove.
Yeah.
See that? So they'll go look at that, but it's a World Cup rookie.
Plus
debut.
also, Nico needs to be in with his hands on the D-rings before they get out of those drive lines. It's a flat start here, but it is not a long start. Next up, Dong-Yeon Kim, a career with Junglin Jun behind him. 22nd in the World Championships, 23rd in the previous World Cup here. He's only 2 top-flight 2-man races. He's had a couple of 2-man Europa Cup races here as well in the last 2 seasons.
Look how flat that nose is right below that Korean flag.
Very different look to everybody else's.
To these Hyundai sleds. But I don't care how much money you put in the sleds, if you can't start them, it's irrelevant. You can give me a stock sled off the shelf and give me the best start time, and I'm going to finish in the medals consistently. Sound, pretty consistent drive. Tap there, see what he does in 8 and 9. Lost some more time, runner tips. Not bad. Didn't try and steer away from that hit. He was late there, though.
He used to be the guy they brought in only for the 4-man, and only in the last 2 seasons he really started driving 2-man.
Speeds,
Ooh.
11th best speed, 16th best time. He's going to struggle to make the cut.
Yes, he is.
I mean, Rico Peter might struggle to make the cut here as I look at things. I don't see too many more people.
Oh, I don't know. There's Chris Spring, Bruce Tasker. There's Maxim Adrianov. There's Bert Hefty. There's Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco.
Baskuk.
Yeah. And there's a few. And don't forget, we've now had 18 sleds down. There are only 2 more spots left in the race.
He's gone way up, so the brakes didn't work as good as they wanted them to. And look at the, that's pretty flat out of 9. And that's out of the Chrysler, excuse me, and then into 8. That was my
hit the wall into 8 as ever. And a long way off onto the rubber at the end.
Charlie
Booker watching at home, hopefully. Good morning to you, Charlie. Chris Spring and Lascelles Brown. Lascelles Brown, the last man to win a medal who's still competing for Canada on this track. He was breaking Pierre Luder's in January 2006.
12, 13 here. Ooh. 16. 7th best velocity, though. That's so you take the 16th best start, and you still have the 7th best velocity. That tells you that 42-year-old Big can still do it.
That's why he's still in there. Helped Pierre Luder's to victory 11 seasons ago.
4600ths, 13th. Maybe the track. We know the track doesn't have what it had in the first sleds down.
Nice exit from 9. That'll help him. Don't forget, that's where Justin Cripps lost a little bit of time, 9 to 10. Down here at the bottom, this transition, nice and clean. Here we go. 14th place and in the second heat. And at the moment, that's the prime concern for anybody below the top 10 in the start draw.
Yeah, there's people right behind him too. 200 Stolnev is behind him. Boy, Rico Peter, we're going to start getting worried about him.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, the Canadian sleds are losing speed.
No speed, Herm.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. I have no idea. Keine Ahnung.
I think that sort of sums up the Canadian season right there.
Yep.
They can't figure out
Good
why they
lines,
have no speed.
decent starts, and speed just falls off. Bruce Tasker with Tony Alubi, a late sub on the back of the sled. Joel Fearon not fit to push this morning. Bruce Tasker 4th in the World Championships in the two-man here just a year ago.
Watch Toby get in. Let's see if he can take that. Look at that dive into the sled by the largest man in the field.
6'6" teacher Toby Alubi, second fastest
His velocity
off a 5:07 start. Well, it didn't look pretty, but boy, when
was
he arrived.
effective. Bruce Tasker 4th at the World Championships here last year. The best British finish in 50 years. At World Championships.
50 years on from when Nash and Dean won the gold medal in Igls in 1964 in the two-man.
Nash and Dixon.
What did I say?
Nash, Dean.
Nash and Dean?
You insulted your British person to make a mistake like that.
Nash and Dean named after those two corners in San Moritz. Nice looking around, a little late out of 10.
Still decent.
Top 6 run.
He was really airborne there.
Letting it fly and flies across the line, 8th place.
Pretty
All
good.
right,
Coming
drifted
from that
away
point
in the labyrinth.
And he's very close. He's only
Brakes, Toby.
800ths, 900, 1100ths out of 4th. He's only 1400ths out of a medal.
Yeah.
So that's
This
coming
is the
from
sled
this.
that he used to go 4th last year.
But this is late all the way down here. Now watch the back end of the sled here. It comes over, taps before he gets in. That's some big air with a 245-pound guy in the back of the sled.
And one in the front that weighs the same as well. Yeah, that's a
For
lot
giving out
of
points,
energy.
he gets the points.
20 sleds down. Francesco Frugic leads by 1/3 of a second. Is it a one-horse race? We'll have to find out in our second heat. But first, we have another dozen sleds trying to break into the race. Maxim Anjanov of Russia, 28-year-old, 17th in the World Championships. He's not raced here in World Cup. He's only had 2 previous races here. So Anjanov outside the top 20 in the starts, and without the experience of his teammates, he's going to struggle to get in here.
Yep, 18th best start, 18th best velocity. Velocity is about 80 meters. The start is about 50 meters. So that extra jump in the sled is a great measurement. And you need it. The velocity here in this track at the top where the speeds are so slow. There's the mistake.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. That would be Lochner made that mistake.
Bumpy. Decent exit from the Kreisel, little skiddy into 8.
Skid into 8. And boy, now he's going to be in no man's land here. He's right out to 19th spot.
Ooh, on the bubble is Vuk Radjenovic. It's either going to be the Serb or the Russian, and at the moment Anjanov's got 1 foot in the race and comes across the line in 19th. So out goes Radjenovic.
Look at Oleg.
52.48. Boy, his head is above the parapet. He's really in the firing line there. He may not make the second heat. There's an awful lot of sleds still to come.
Top of the track. Well, he gets off there late. He hits the bump. Look at the airborne up there. That's a 5-6 combination. Can't do that. The skid into 8. That's not the way to go into 8. You can't cheat yourself around there. You want to get on that take-on clean. And
still speed in the track. We just saw Bruce Tasker come down 8th fastest. So that is not a factor of the track. Nick Polignato, Canada, with Derek Plug. They too are going to need something big. Made the cut in the World Cup 2 years ago. 20th place in his first appearance in a two-man. 21st in the World Championships here last year.
best finish of the year, Lake Placid, 13th. 14th on his home track in Whistler. Had a pretty good coming out season for him.
Yeah, that was a great start to the season. Beginning it on tracks you know well is always confidence boosting.
And 13th best start, and then they had the 12th best velocity. So good job by the brakeman, Derek Blood.
Yeah. Chris Spring, 14th fastest start, came down and is currently in 15th spot. And Nick so far looking neat and tidy.
Hanging in at 15th.
That's all he needs to try and make this heat, but it's got to be clean. He's up to 14th place.
Yeah.
This is as good a run as we saw from Chris
nice
Spring.
clean line there too. Let's see, does he get high? No, he's low.
He's only ever raced on this track
here
3 times.
He was late, very late. 15, still hanging on there though.
And he's in, and out is our first starter, Simone Fontana of Italy. That's a really good run
for him.
Polignato, 500s quicker than Chris Spring.
And he's only behind Holcomb. So, good run.
Yep.
By the former Bishop's University football player and that hockey player in the back, Derek Plug. He's one of the few hockey players from Canada, but I don't believe that. Look how late he is here in the second of the 3 lappers. That causes a little friction there as he has to spike the sled up. Look at that.
Hauls it off there to get down.
Whoa.
And do you know what?
How much was that? How much
might have
time?
taken him out of 10th.
That took a 10th out. A 10th out, he would have been up 3 spots.
Yep. He might have been in the top 10 bar. That
pretty good run, though.
That's a great run. He should be in the race. What about Beat Hefty? 38-year-old Swiss has not been off the podium since 2008, including 4 straight wins, bronze in the Worlds last year and the World Cup the year before. But Hefty has had a horrible season.
Well, he's a start monster. Not anymore. He used to have the best starts, blow everybody away. Like Friedrich's the best starter. He's got the best time at the bottom. It was hard to catch him on this track and in Winterberg. But Beat Hefty without a start time, he's a little naked.
Hefty didn't make the cut in 4-man in St. Moritz. He was 20th in the 2-man, 26th in 2-man last week in Koenigsegg. And at the moment, 20th start, he is in 20th place.
They're also saying that Beat doesn't have the good equipment.
He's just going to ease Fontana, beg your pardon, Andrianov out of the race at the moment. Yes,
20th, unbelievable.
Just in, 96 hundredths off the lead.
Medaled 8 straight times. Now, medal last year in the World Championships.
Yep. By no means guaranteed to make the cut off a bronze medal in the World's last time out.
It's not what he wants to hear, the former, and he's a silver medalist at the Sochi Olympics. And, watch these pictures. This is not perfect, but not terrible.
Listen, with a similar sled, Bruce Tasker just went 8th 3 sleds ago.
Yeah, but Bruce had a little
20th.
different start time than...
Yep, it ain't the kit.
It ain't the kit.
Cody Basque of the USA, no World Championship here last year. He's had 1 World Cup performance, 16th in the 2-man a couple of seasons ago, and he had 1 Europa Cup race weekend here when he was learning to drive.
Well, he's got Carlos Valdez with him, and his best performance ever was on this track with Carlos Valdez as a brakeman.
Yep.
14th best start.
Behind Holcomb there, really stepping it up to try and give Cody Basque a great chance here.
Well, Cody can't make any mistakes. Last week in Koenigsegg had a rough time in the straightaway above Kreisel.
Yep.
Both the 2 and the 4.
Neat so far, but from 14th at the start,
the 19th
position,
he's
little
bleeding more,
scared out
still
of
19.
Kreisel.
He's going to have to get to 18 to have a chance.
Exit of 9 is nice and straight down the chute into 10. Good height. Bumps on the exit.
20th. Right to the 100th here.
Right on the bubble at the moment. In 20th place is Beat Hefty. It's either going to be Basque or Hefty, and Hefty's out already. Survived just 1 sled. Cody Basque, 0.05 of a second quicker than the Swiss legend, is in the race at the moment. 200s behind Dong Young Kim of Korea.
700ths better than Hefty at the start. And he was better than the Kim at the start, but lost to Kim by 200ths at the bottom.
Bet Hefty's weighing himself and the sled to make sure they were legal. Not that they're going through into the second heat
but
anyway,
they're getting points. If he's disqualified, you don't get any points.
That's for sure.
So I think Cody Bescu, like he did last week, he's going to be watching some clock.
Yep.
And there's still some people out there that can rule them in, including this kid right here.
He's the first, this is really going to be dominoes in the next few sleds.
There's 2 or 3 more sleds who are going to get him.
23-year-old Monegasque Rudy Rinaldi, only one race here. 20th place in the World Cup 2 seasons ago.
And the huge Boris Van on the brakes. Going to launch these guys, should be like 13 or 14.
Look at Boris, gets in like he knows how important it is to be gentle.
But the 18th best velocity, that's not a good sign.
That's not great.
That's not a good sign.
So 13th fastest start. Where will this leave him? 14th place. And that's that lack of velocity early on.
Boy, he took a lot of that curve right there. On the wrong stride of that straightaway there. He's still hanging in at 14. This is what he did last week in Kodiksi. He had the 6th best time of the second run in Kodiksi last week. So he's 15th and perfect lines.
Straight down the shootout, 15th place. At the moment he's in the race, but the Labyrinth can be a very mischievous place late in 12.
Airborne.
Hanging it out for speed, and at the line he's going to be in.
16th. He's in the race.
Out is Cody Bescu.
Well, that was pretty hanging out on the edge in the second Labyrinth.
Yeah.
But
Drew Savelle would approve, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Hanging it out for some speed.
Okay, look at him get high here, and look at the sled. It's upper rudder pressure by the brakeman. Boy, but he crosses over, a little bit of an airborne, and
seen worse.
we saw Benny Meyer do that too, so that might be that Austrian shortcut.
And didn't really have to haul it off there either.
No.
Good run, he's in, and he might be safe there. Jong-Yong Kim of Korea is in 20th.
He's safe.
Francesco Frugicar leader after 25 of 32 sleds. 30-year-old Dutchman Ivo de Bruin with Igor Brink behind him. 30th in the World Champs. 24th in the World Cup, his last time out here, 2014. Only a couple of Europa Cup races here as well.
Well, gonna have to get a 5:20, 5:18, 5:20 start to have any chance. 5:25. But look at the velocity.
Ninth fastest off a 24th start of 26 sleds.
Well, let it give him a chance.
Well, that shows what Igor Brink brings to the back handles, doesn't it?
5,500s back. He's 24th. Well, no mistakes allowed. Needs the Eurotech sled to find the least amount of distance the rest of the way down the track.
A mile an hour off the pace at only 99 kilometers. 101.2. That's a little better. Ooh, little flop off 9. Still 23rd.
Not gonna do it.
Late.
Only 122, 23. 9th best speed on the bottom though, with that start.
Yeah, comes up shy by a few hundreds. He's in 23rd position, so Kim of Korea breathes easy. He's in 20th, Rico Peter 19th. At the moment, there's a possibility we might not have a Swiss sled in the race if we get 2 quick runs.
Well, you're gonna get one more at least. There's a little tap there, Ivo, and then down here, Austrian shortcut for him. He's got some flop there, airborne, crossover. Yeah, I think we're seeing everybody, not everybody, but we're seeing a lot of that line. There was an Austrian shortcut in the skeleton rest yesterday.
Brand new rookie driver, Roman Heinrich. You'll recognize the face, the smile, the name. He's been a brakeman for Loic Costege for the last half dozen years. Started driving this season, never driven a bobsled here before.
And he tested as one of the best French brakemen early in the season. He's had 280 trips since Christmas last year.
Yeah.
Crashed 5 times. He's been toiling on the Europa Cup, the North America Cup. And, you know, he says, if I get a good brakeman behind me, I think I can do something. But all the brakemen are with Loic Costege, and they're home training for the World Cup, which allows him in the race here.
Well, Roman was always the #1 choice on the back of Costege's 2-man and 4-man sled, so he is a big, fast guy. He's like the Bruce Taskers of the world.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and he can run.
8,200 back, 24th position. And actually, for a first time here, he's only had 6 trips in training. These are good lines. A little bit of ice flying out from 9 to 10.
I think he had a World America's or a Europa Cup here.
I couldn't find a result for it.
24th.
Across the line, 24th. Well, welcome to the World Cup. He makes his debut here in Igls.
24th best start, 24th best downtime. You give him a start. Got to get a brakeman, and he says it.
But on his first drive, ahead of Max Andrianov of Russia.
Skid here into 8, costly.
But we've seen worse again. This was what really took the time
here.
out of it.
Bang. Look at that big. You think that ice isn't
the runners there gouging the ice out of the bottom of the wall.
Roman.
Hey.
Hang in there, buddy.
Okay.
Patrick Baumgartner of Italy, 22-year-old former ski racer. And this guy has had a couple of Europa Cup races here. He's made 2 World Cup starts in 2-man, in Winterberg in 2014 and Koenigsegg 2015. He raced here in Europa Cup in 2016 when Giovanni Mollisano, who was the brakeman on Simone Fontana's sled, was also driving in Europa Cup.
Well, start times, they don't have. The kit with the sled, the uniforms, their warm-up jackets, they got all of that.
Well, 5:23, that's quicker than the French just produced, quicker than the last couple of sleds, the French and the Dutch. Same as Bert Hefty.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Or rather, Bert Hefty only produced the same as rookie Patrick Baumgartner. 22nd fastest start, they're down to 26th spot.
Late there. Now he's got some real issues.
Yep.
Into the labyrinths. He's get on early the first one. Steered hard there. He steered hard there, and he's steered very commercially there. And 27th at the finish line.
Yep. So 27th spot ahead of Vuk Radjanovic. The Italian development program here in the World Cup, though. Simone Fontana and Patrick Baumgartner, 26th, 27th, and 1100ths of a second separating the two of them after their trips down the ice.
Well, it's about a start. Technique, look at that, the sled's coming out of the grooves. That didn't help. Good pickup by our team, and this, well, doesn't take much to figure out. That's a lot of friction.
So the Italians making their 3rd World Cup start. Patrick Baumgartner doesn't make the heat. What about former loser Markus Treichel from Austria? The 23-year-old was 27th in the worlds in the 2-man. 5 World Cup starts since he started driving.
His father's involved with the Austrian Federation, was serving us some beverages yesterday.
Treichel also has done a lot of 4-man braking for Benny Meyer as well.
Yeah. 21st best start, 21st best velocity. He's going to need all of the Austrian shortcuts in the track to get into the top 20.
Well, this is definitely the track that he will know best. 27th on the splits, though. Time all went away right from the start.
No chance. These lines are fine, but he's drifting farther back. So the track doesn't have anything left.
Well, maybe not for Markus Treichel. 1.3 away, 28th spot out of the 29 sleds. And across the line, he is behind Vuk Radjanovic. So 1200s behind Vuk, 29th spot for Markus Treichel of Austria.
Well, there's 2 guys left that can knock out Kim from the 20th spot. One of them coming up now, Jan Verbre. But the track, I don't think, has got any speed left because look at the height he's getting. Now, that's the good sleds have been up on that line. And you launch yourselves down into
the exit doesn't help. There's Markus. He will not be in the second heat.
See him in the 4-man tomorrow.
3 to come. This is Jan Verbre, the Czech Republic. Didn't race here in the World Championships last year. Best in two-man here was back in 2011. He was 13th. And he has made the cut only once in his last 3 two-man appearances here.
I'm sure he realizes his teammate, Dvorak, is in 6th place.
Yeah.
Brakeman needs to wash his socks.
That may be the first time we've heard that on air. Dominic Succi, get your socks clean, you horrible little man. 5:19, that's not a bad start. That gives him a chance.
13th best velocity, too, so the guy with the dirty socks did a nice job.
He's too busy training to wash his own socks.
He's probably never going to wash them socks now.
Not now. Not now they've been picked up on air.
So he's now 21st, though. I don't think the track's got it left. Really do. I mean, there's one more guy coming up.
That's tough for everybody down this end of the draw.
Yeah.
23rd place, drifting away a little, but his
track is melting. It's
slipping and sliding. Ooh, too many errors creeping in here anyway. Even off the 5th best start, he'd be struggling down.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. He's way better driver than this. This track is gone.
Too many mistakes in the two-man.
21st speed. There's no way this guy finishing 28th on a normal situation. Behind both the there's Book. Yeah, it's just no way he's going to finish in that spot. But
well, he's behind the 2 young Italians who are only a couple of sleds in front of him. Baumgartner was only 2 sleds earlier.
He's tied with Vuk Radanovic of Serbia there.
Yeah, but Baumgartner beat him with only 3 World Cup races under his belt. This was not a good run from Jan Verber, and he's not a two-man specialist.
Poor man, but still thought he'd get into the top 20.
Well, 2 to go. Will anybody else break into the top 20? It's going to be an uphill struggle for Dorin Grigori, the Romanian, now 31 years old. In the World Championships, 31st in the two-man race. Last World Cup here, he was 28th.
We saw him crash last week in 4-man, and one of his crew members, broken collarbone, had surgery this week, and our best to him.
Yeah. Does that mean that he may not go in the 4-man race tomorrow?
No, they got a couple new guys came in, headshots. One really tall, good-looking athlete. 24th best velocity and speed. That's Grigori's nemesis, is the start. Now he's got a track that is, it's got too much tire down on it.
Yeah.
It's ripped up. And, you know, Bradley Hall coming up next with, you know, they're going to rock at a start time down here, and I think they're going to have all they can do to get to the bottom of the top 20, even with they're going to have a top 10 start.
High line, keeps it tidy on the exit. Does that move him up the order? No, he's drifting away to 31st. They've definitely milked the life out of the track here. It needs that pre-second heat spritz. And the warm and sunny conditions here aren't helping either.
Well, we saw the track hold up last year at unbelievable temperatures.
Yeah.
The Romanians, one of the older sleds in the field.
Dong Young Kim still in the field in 20th place with a 52.14. One sled separating him potentially from a second heat. And this is it. Bradley Hall, 26-year-old former brakeman, and Sam Blanchet, a man born in Montreal, Quebec, who now lives in Exeter, played rugby for England and the Exeter Chiefs.
Rugby sevens guy now, yeah. So
17th in the two-man worlds for Brad Hall last year, 24th in the World Cup the year before. He's had 3 Europa Cup races here as well.
Watch his right hand. His right hand's still injured. He cannot grab the push bar.
They have a brand new, never raced before Singer sled.
Well, he's got his hand more grabbing the bars. This should be a single-digit start.
5:17.
No. Surprise.
Does that give him a chance?
8th best velocity.
That's a really good start. Sam Blanchet, the rugby player on the back, by the way, cardinal sin among bobsled fans. He's never watched Cool Runnings. Can you believe that? I know.
I'll have to give him a buck to go out and watch it.
18th place on the splits. Nice neat line.
21st already.
Okay.
Not going to make it.
Speed's going away.
The track doesn't have it. He's really disadvantaged.
Tough start draw. 21st place. Not a bad exit from 9. It would have been okay if he was still 14th or 15th, 23rd place. The speed is just not there.
It's the track.
Yeah, track's like glue.
He starts up in the top 10. He'd probably be 15th.
That's a really tough break. 52.34, so he does not make the second heat. Coach Gary Anderson here, for the first time after a couple of weeks, went home feeling unwell after St. Moritz. Brad Hall does not make it through into the second heat. 30-second start draw. That's a lot of sleds chewing up the ice. And unfortunately, there wasn't enough speed left in the track for him to make it through.
Well, enough speed in the track for Francisco Friedrich and Torsten Marcus. I mean, they won the World Championships here last year, and they posted the best time at the start. They posted the best time down below. They set another track record. And guess what? This could be a little warm-up for the World Championships coming up in a couple weeks. This guy's won them all the last 3 times out. And another dominating performance by Francisco Friedrich.
Ridiculous pace from Francesco Friedrich. He leads the field by a full third of a second. 500ths covers the battle for silver. 600s, let's say, down to Benny Meyer. And Dvorak, Kibermanis, Bruce Tasker. Good first heat runs from them. Justin Cripps in 10th. We're very pleased with that. Nick Polignato in 15th ahead of Rudy Rinaldi and Chris Spring. So nice, tight battle there. And in 20th place, Dong Yong Kim just hung on for, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes in that position. Cody Bascu, the first of those that fails to make the cut by 200s. Beat Hefty, Ivo de Bruyne, Bradley Hall, Roman Heinrich, our rookie. And on down to the 32nd and last sled, Doran Grigoriev, Romania. Well, it was a really tough ask for anybody starting outside the top 20, particularly on this short track, particularly in warm conditions. And the tough ask in the second heat is going to be catching our leader. Find out who can do it. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the IBSF TV crew when we come back on air at 12:15 local, 11:15 GMT with our second and deciding heat from Innsbruck in Austria.